my friends. Hello. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Craft Your Joy Live. I'm super excited to be here today. It is release week at Gina K Designs. That happened on Tuesday. Today is Thursday. I have a brand new stamp set that just came out with Gina K called Secret Garden. And yeah, it's a super fun one. And today we're going to use it. I'm mashing it up with another stamp set in my collection. And today we're going to use it to create a holiday door card. Woohoo! So yeah, and I've still got a little bit of a cold, so I've got a little bit of a nasal sound. So that's happening today as well. So I'm really excited to be here with you today. It's a week before Thanksgiving here in the US, so kind of exciting. Everybody's preparing and all the things. I see people popping in. I'm just going to say hello to everyone. Hi, Barbara. Cherie, hey, it's been a while since I've seen you. Judith. Barbara, I already said hello, Rhonda. I think I saw my cousin Terry. She popped in here too. Hey, Terry, I hope Mom's doing good. I hope everybody's doing good. Glorimar, Zan. Hey, Zan is in Europe. Yeah. Donna, hello. Hello. And hey, Catherine. Okay. All right, fun. Okay, today, kind of keeping in with the discussions that we've been having in the last couple tutorials about brushstroke techniques and things. I'm going to be doing some brushstroke techniques today. Of course, there's watercolor, and we're going to make a really fun holiday card. So, hey, Zan. Zan just said she still hasn't managed to go back and watch the Gina K release video. No worries. It's still there. And also on my channel, I have the release video. It's the video before this one. That just does a complete walkthrough of the stamp set and some of the card inspiration. Hi, Cheryl. Cheryl's in Washington, and I did hear about this, Cheryl. They had a bomb cyclone, which is that weather event that comes over top of you and just kind of stays there. Now, it happens in Maryland sometimes, and we get like extreme cold, but I think, and Cheryl just confirmed that what happened there is like severe wind and windstorm. So crazy. All right, let's go ahead to the down camera and talk about what we're going to do today. Okay, so again, the release for Gina K Designs just happened on Thursday. No, today is Thursday. Tuesday. And in that release video, I've got all of these different samples for the new stamp set. Oh, no worries, Donna. We will be nerding out about watercolor today. No worries. So, excuse me. One of the cards in the release party was this card. And I really loved this concept of the holiday door and, you know, putting up wreaths and doing different things or decorating your door. One of the inspiration thoughts for creating Secret Garden was really like English gardens. A little bit of Bridgerton was kind of giving me the inspiration, and also just designing and creating holiday doors for any kind of holiday in the season. So I wanted to give you, in the stamp set, I wanted to give you some base pieces that you could do that with, and you could change it up for the different holiday seasons. Oh, my Aunt Joyce just popped in. Hi, Lisa. We love you, Aunt Joyce. Oh, hi, Aunt Joyce. It's so good to see my cousin Terry and my Aunt Joyce pop in. So very fun. Okay. All right, so this was the inspiration for the card project today. And I really, as of this morning, I really kind of didn't know how I wanted to go with this or what I was going to do today. I kind of had an idea, but not. So then I ended up having my idea. And I wanted to kind of, keeping in the themes of what we've been doing in a couple other tutorials prior to this, was teaching you some watercolor techniques along with brushstroke techniques. So today we are going to make this holiday door card with the new stamp set Secret Garden. We're also going to do brushstroke and watercolor techniques. And we're going to create this really whimsical, like brick background. And this whole card is super whimsical. Look at these colors. I love the colors. They're super retro. And really, now my aunt and my cousin are in here. My grandmom, my aunt's mom, Granny Mac, my kids called her Granny Mac, Mary McClellan was her name. She had the coolest holiday decorations in her basement. And as a kid growing up, my cousin Terry can attest to this, we would all be down in the basement and she would have the coolest retro like holiday decorations. So a lot of times my color palettes in my head, and I'm nerding out right now, come from that inspiration as a child. And the colors that she had with the turquoises and the reds and the oranges and all those really like 50s like colors, I really get inspired by. Okay, totally nerded out. Totally nerded out. All right, friends, all of the supplies are listed down below in the description if you're watching me here on YouTube or on Facebook. But this is the card that we're going to make. We're going to create this background. We're going to create this door. And then we're going to create the really cool wreath that is using these Christmas roses and mashing it up with Merriest Season of All, this sentiment joy. So let's just go ahead and dive in. And I'm going to be using Strathmore Ready Cut watercolor. No, everybody knows that's the one I use every week. I've got some interesting things here. So let's go ahead and get started first with our background piece. So this piece was cut with the Master Layouts die. You can also easily cut it with your cutter, your trimmer, your paper trimmer. It's 3.75 by 5. And it is going to fit the front of this turquoise sea card perfectly. Okay, so let's just move some of this stuff to the side. We're going to do this project in a couple steps. We're going to start with the brushstroke techniques and doing the brushstroke technique to create this whimsical brick background. Then we're going to do the door. Then we're going to do the decor elements. So let's get going. Oh, and then we're going to put the card together and then do a little splatter and add a few things I found in my stash. Okay, let's just moving some things around here. Here's my card base layer. Now I've got 2 brushes here. And we're going to, and I also have some Winsor & Newton paints. So I am using watercolor paints. I'm using Payne's Gray and Permanent Rose. I had to think about that. So a gray and a pink for this card project. We're also going to be using some Gina K inks, Cherry Red, Slate, and Dark Spruce. Those are some colors that we're going to be using for stamping and watercoloring. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First, what I'm going to do, I need to move this glue and stuff out of the way. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this, oh, here we go. I've got a little bit of water here. I'm just going to get these paints activated and get a little pool of paint down here for this Permanent Rose. We're going to use... So Permanent Rose, I've talked about Permanent Rose before. Permanent Rose is a common color that you'll find in a lot of different watercolor brands. I think one of my favorite versions of Permanent Rose is Indeed from Winsor & Newton. So I absolutely love it. And I think it's because it's just the prettiest shade of pink. Prettiest shade of pink. All right, I've got a little towel here. Now, I've got this brush. My watercolor paper is dry. This brush is dry. This is called a chip brush. So you can find these in like craft stores. You can find them in Home Depot. But basically, I like to call it the wild hair brush. It's got these bristles and they're just kind of like wild hairs. But what I really like about them is that you can dip into paint. And then we're just going to create some subtle background here. Like feels like a little bit like the wind, which was a really windy night here in Maryland last night. Yeah, feels a little bit like the wind. So I've got this like background going that's just kind of a little bit, creates a little bit of texture. So remember, you don't need this chip brush to do this part of the texture. You can find any brush in your stash that kind of is a little bristly, right? And has some uneven bristle edges. Oh, she says, Zan just said it looks like my messy bun this morning, pointing in all directions. Like, hello, same, right? Same. Okay, I'm going to move my color over and just kind of bring my water a little bit closer. Now, what we're going to do is create, I've got a little bit of paint here. I'm not really too worried about it. What we're going to do is create that faux brick background. So think about it. If you're creating this door card and you can change up the colors by theme, you could still create like a fall version, a spring version, a winter version. I'm going for that 50s-ish retro holiday color palette that I so love. And I'm pretty sure if you've been watching me for a while, I use this color palette a lot for holiday cards. Tend to steer away from the traditional colors, and maybe it's just because I'm inspired to use it. So, okay, I'm coming in, my brush is wet, this paper is dry, like everything is dry, and I'm going to just pick up some of the, actually, I'm going to pick up some of the permanent rose, but I don't want it to be I don't want it to be at 100% like whole milk strength. So you can see that I'm pulling it out just a little bit here, just to kind of get it down to a skim milk, maybe a little in between skim and 2%, really skim. And I'm going to just use the side of the brush and just start kind of painting in some dashes. And by using the side of the brush, we're literally just using the brush strokes. I'm just painting in some dashes to create that faux brick look. Long lines, short lines, another short line, and just going all the way down. And I really want this to be not in like a super, super strong version of that permanent rose. You can see I just kind of keep watering it down a little bit, but making sure I get enough on my brush. Come all the way across a little bit, little dash. That one is a little, I'd like that to be a little more squared off. Cheryl, I'm glad you got your power back. I see you guys chatting in the chat about the storm. Glad to hear that you've gotten your power back. It's crazy. Bomb cyclone. Kind of hoping we don't get one of those this winter. Whenever we've had them in Maryland, it's just like this super cold. Sort of like, I equate it to Chicago cold. If you've ever been to Chicago in the winter, you go and you walk outside, when you breathe in, it feels like glass in your chest. It's crazy. Okay, I am getting some more of the pigment on my brush and just using the side of the brush and just making these long dash lines. So see how easy it is to do brick. Now, I would have used a stencil for this. I literally this morning, I'm like, oh, I'm going to use the Gina K brick stencil. Went to go look at my stencils. I don't have it. In my brain, I thought I had it. But I don't have it, so I'm going to need to order it because I really like it. Or you can just paint. You could just do it this way and paint yourself some brick, which I like doing. And you can see how easy this is to do. Let me just kind of hold it right there. And some of these little drops of excess, I'm just going to pull away. Now, I forgot to share the brush that I'm using is a number 10. And this is a round brush. And the reason why I'm using a round is because it comes to that really sharp point. But if you really, really wanted to go for like hard lines with your brush that are like long rectangles for brick, you could use a flat wash brush, which looks like a rectangle brush. So, so yeah, this is a fun idea for backgrounds. Now, when it dries, we're going to let it dry. It's going to fade back because remember, and here's the nerd out part, and everybody's heard me say this, watercolor, especially in the strength that I used it, very diluted with a lot of water, sort of like that skim milk consistency, or an almond milk consistency if you don't like milk. When this fades back, it's going to be very, very subtle in our background. And then we've got those chip brush lines that are kind of like little concrete swashes, just kind of pushing their way through. So we're going to go ahead and set this to the side. Where am I going to set that? I'm going to set that right there. And then I'm going to clean up my mess because I know me. I'm going to end up getting it all over the card and boogering it up. Zan just shared that it is a really gorgeous pink. It is permanent rose. So check out your watercolor in your stash and look for permanent rose. It's one of my favorites. In the Winsor & Newton brand, here comes the nerd out, in the Cotman line versus the professional line. So this is just a box of watercolor that I put together, some of my favorite colors. And these are all professional watercolors. But the permanent rose in Winsor & Newton professional versus Cotman, there's really very slight difference between the two. Not much at all. Okay, now we are going to do the door. And if you could look in the stamp set Secret Garden, you can see that the door is a very good size. And all of our other elements are in proportion to the door. So when I shared on the live Tuesday with the live release, a lot of these elements that have arcs in them and arches fit perfectly around the top of the door. So, little nerd out. All right, I'm going to come in. Let's just get this off here. Okay. This set also has a coordinating die set, but I am not using the dies today. I think we're going to do a little bit of fussy cutting. Yep, that's what we're going to do. Okay. Now, I'm going to use a little bit of Payne's Gray for this next technique. You don't have to use Payne's Gray. I could actually use Slate if I wanted to, the Gina K Slate. Hello, there it is. But I'm going to use a little bit of Payne's Gray, and here's why. I'm getting the Payne's Gray at a really decent amount of water to paint ratio on this brush. Brush is wet, paper's dry. We're going to do some watercoloring, and we're going to use this big wide open shape, and you can see I'm just painting right on to the stamp. I hope I heard a collective gasp from everybody in the comments. No gasp, no worries. Remember, this is water-based paint. It'll come off. I'm going to turn my paper sideways. This is a piece of watercolor paper, 100% cotton. I'm using Strathmore Ready Cut watercolor. I'm just going to stamp this down, and you can see I'm not putting any pressure. I'm just kind of tapping it, lifting it up and away. And then we're going to work with the color that's here. Okay, brush is wet, paper's dry. I'm going to start to just add a little bit of water to the middle here. Then I'm going to gently start to go up and touch the lines of the stamped image. Now, you could do this with your inks or your re-inkers. You could do this with, look at the color, it's just moving. It's moving, it's moving. I love it. You can see I'm choked up on the brush, kind of like a pen or a pencil. So I'm choked up really far on the brush. I'm going to come around here, and I'm just getting all of my outer edges wet. And we're using, I haven't even dipped my brush into the Payne's Gray. We're just using the color that's already here and that is releasing when I've taken the brush and put it over the lines. And I'm just going to use this color that's here. So this technique is wet into dry, brush is wet, paper's dry, and I'm just kind of scrubbing away the color that's here. One of the reasons why, here comes the color nerd out, one of the reasons why I like Payne's Gray, and Payne's Gray as a color, as a watercolor paint, is very different in brands, from brand to brand. Some of the Payne's Gray that are out there in different brands are really gray, like a dark, almost black. Oh my goodness. Sorry, Zan. I hope your mom's okay. And some of the Payne's Gray in other brands is more like bluish. The one here from Winsor & Newton, and I'm just picking up some paint and I'm going to drop some in on the top here, and you can see that's a pretty intense amount of paint, but that's okay. We're going to clean off our brush. And then I'm just going to go ahead and move that color around a little bit. It might feel a little bit stark right now, but that's okay. Remember, watercolor fades back. And I'm really going for this color palette, this blue-gray door. Could do a brown door if you wanted to. Could do a whatever color door. The door to my office, so my studio space, as Cheryl just said, I love Payne's Gray. The studio in my home, my studio space is in the front of the house where the front door is. And my front door is turquoise, teal. More teal. No, more like a blue teal. More like a turquoise sea from Gina K. So, you know, whatever door you want to use, whatever color you want to paint would be cool. I just chose Payne's Gray today because the blue-gray just really kind of helps give me that retro feel that I'm going for. But you know what other color would be really amazing? Is it still sitting on my desk from our last chat? Yes. Cascade green. Cascade green, I've talked about it ad nauseum. I know everybody's probably tired of me talking about Daniel Smith Cascade green, but it's one of those greens that has, when it dries, you get a little bit of blue and get a little bit of turquoise in it. All right, digging this. Gonna let this, actually, let's just force this dry. I've got my heat tool. When I turn this on, the microphone's going to modulate back, so I'm not going to talk because it kind of modulates back so this isn't so loud in your ears. So let's go ahead and dry this. Oh my goodness, I'm digging it. Look at that white. We've got that white from the paper coming through. Love it. Give it a little heat on the back. One other thing I want to share about Payne's Gray is that it typically is a granulating pigment. So you can see some of the granulation. You see some of that little, let's come in a little bit tighter now. You can see some of that granulation right in here, and that is just gorgeous. Love it. Okay, now, what do I want to do before? Okay, here, this is what I want to do. Ah, Terry says, I love it. The white looks like the light coming in. You're right. Actually, Terry, you know what? This shape, and that's for another day. This shape is perfect for like when we open the door. Let me show you that sample. doing an open door, right? And this color, like if we're doing an open door and you're looking in and you get that dimension. So you're right, you've got that white happening here. And when you're looking into that door, it's kind of like you've got some dimension there. Very cool. Love it. Okay, now we're going to come in and yeah, I will clean that stamp. Maybe not. I'm going to come in with the wood grain and I'm going to, let me move the Payne's gray out of the way. Let me move that whole thing. I'm going to come in with the slate and stamp in the door. So what we're doing is like that two-step stamping process. We've colored in our door and now I'm going over top of it to add the texture to the door. And I'm not going to freak out or worry too much about getting a really good solid impression, because we're going to bleed out the slate dye. See, it's not like a super good solid impression. If you wanted a super solid impression, I would use like a stamp platform like a Misty. But I'm going to go back over this with a clean wet brush and just kind of holding my brush vertically, just kind of take that tip and just run it over those lines. And just let the slate, it's going to pick up some of the Payne's gray color underneath, but not too much because I am working pretty quickly and just using the tip of my brush just to kind of go over it. I just love this technique. Everybody has inks. You have dye inks that you're using for your stamping projects or your paper crafting and craft projects. Use them for watercolor techniques. You already have them. Get them out. Play with them. And this slate makes a really great gray. I'm going to show you one more thing as soon as I just kind of blend out this color. All right, I'm digging that. Digging the way that looks. There's some texture going. And if I take a little bit of this slate gray and just kind of show you, just get a little water going, you can see that that slate gray is, it skews more on the black, like skews more black versus a Payne's gray. You can see there's a little more, woo! First of all, there's definitely a different level of intensity, but you can see there's more blue in that Payne's gray, and this is more like a charcoal black, but that's okay. You could still use it for watercolor and achieve the same effects that I did painting this door. It's just going to be a little more charcoal looking than bluish. Okay, now I'm going to bring in, we're going to let this, I'm going to set this aside for a minute. Oh, look at that. Got a little sploosh right on it. I'm going to set this aside for a minute. I'm going to bring this back in so you can see how our, I'm going to turn it this way, how the permanent rose has faded back. And it really does kind of look pale. We've got versions of it that are really pale up here and some versions of it that are a little bit darker. And that is that water to paint ratio. Here's the nerd out moment. Water to paint ratio. I've talked about this a lot. Like the more water you add to your watercolor pigment or your ink, the less pigment you're going to have to work with. So it's going to be a lot less showing up on your paper. It's going to be more subtle. Okay, so that's the beautiful thing about watercolor, is that you can create so many different variations of a color from light to dark simply by controlling the amount of water you add to the pigment. Nerd out. Okay, we're going to put this to the side, and then I'm going to put this to the side, and we're going to start to work on some of the elements. I've got here, what do I have here? I've got a piece of watercolor paper. We're going to work on some of the elements. We're going to work on the rose, the little roses. And I'm going to paint, we're going to work with cherry red, some Gina K cherry red. I'm going to stamp this 3 times. Then we're going to work with some of the leafery in the set to kind of create that laurel wreath greenery that's going to go underneath it. So let's go ahead, stamp this 3 times. And then I am going to clean it. Now, cherry red from Gina K will stain your stamp. If that bothers you, use a different red. Doesn't bother me because stamps are meant to be used. And I'm pretty hard on my stamps and very rarely clean them well. So I'm going to take, I've got my brush. I'm really choked up. It's just a clean wet brush. And I'm just adding a little bit of water to the center. This brush, this Princeton Aqua Elite brush, I've been playing with this for the last couple lives. It is, it holds a lot of water. You can see that I'm just pulling away just enough of the Gina K Cherry Red. I don't want this to be like completely painted. I just want to pull away enough of that color from the center. And because that stamp has a really, really solid center, I'm able to just kind of work with the color that's there and move it around. And then we're going to cut those out. I'm going to let that dry. And if you see, look at the cherry red. When it's dried, it's got that, almost got that permanent rose look to it. It's got that really, really, really pale pink that skews a little bit with more red. This cherry red color, I love it. I absolutely love Gina K's cherry red. It's more of a cool red. Okay, so it has a little bit of blue in it. So it's a cooler red. It's not on the maroon scale, like more warm. So it's a little bit cooler. Okay, again, these cool colors. We've got the Payne's Gray. That's kind of cool. We've used Permanent Rose that's skewing on the cool side. We're using Turquoise Sea. That's a cool color. This cherry red is cool. Now I'm going to come in and do some of the leafery. And the reason why I'm just being weird about the cool colors is that that's that retro palette. That retro palette of colors were cool, leaning, cool colors. Dark Spruce. This is one of my favorite greens because it is a blue green. We're going to stamp this twice. And again, I'm not super concerned about getting a really good impression with this stamp because we're going to use what's here. We're going to take the tip of our brush and use what's here and just run the very tip of my brush over it. This brush, woo! You could use a smaller brush if you want to. Just make sure that your round brush comes to a really nice tip. And this brush, like I said, holds a lot of water. So you can see that I haven't even gone back and dipped my brush in the water because I don't have to. And I'm just going to go down like this. Now there are dies for both of these, this beautiful Christmas rose and this piece of leafery. There are dies for this, but I think I'm going to fussy cut them. Yep, I am. I'm going to fussy cut them. What would be really cool is the new, Gina released a new intracut that is a small one. It looks like out of like this cute little purse. I think I'm going to be picking that up because I like the way that will fit on the camera. I often have set up a different camera for the die cutter in the past, or because the machine is big and I kind of hate bringing it into the frame. So I think I'm going to get that little one and have some fun with it if it's still available. I haven't checked yet today. Okay, I am going to cut out these elements. And while I'm cutting, we're just going to have a little chat. and about some things that are coming up. And also, if you have any questions, make sure you just pop them in the chat. Now, I know that people don't like to do fussy cutting. I like it because I feel like it's, for me, it's kind of fun and therapeutic. And I enjoy doing it. And also with the dies, when we're creating dies, and friends, you know, I'm a designer for Scrapbook and Cards Today and Gina K Designs, and like I create a lot of product and that gets manufactured, and dies, when you're creating them, when you're illustrating them, they have to have a distance around the stamp, right? So that you can put the die down and you can cut it. Sometimes that just creates that little lip of extra white on the paper that is cool, which is perfectly cool. Like let me bring in a sample so you can see that little extra lip of white around an image. But sometimes I want it to be cut right to the line. So when that is the case, I fussy cut. And long before dies and stencils and all the things that kind of help us create these embellishments, I liked using dies and also fussy cutting our stamps because you end up creating these really cool embellishments. And it's just so cool. Okay. All right. So last week, while I'm cutting these, last week I talked about doing an upcoming like holiday series. That's going to start next week's Thanksgiving, friends. So I won't be going live next week because, you know, it's Thanksgiving and there's a lot. I've got family and friends and hosting and food to make. So I will be starting the holiday series the week after. And I think we'll end up, Thanksgiving so late this year. Whoosh. Hopefully we'll get 2 or 3 tutorials in. But one of the things that was asked last week was if I could kind of take a bigger, deeper dive into gouache, which is opaque watercolor. And I know we've talked about it on this channel before. So I think I'm going to integrate that into some holiday fun. So that's happening. All right, here's my 3 little, they're so cute. Now, this shape is a little more complicated for cutting out. I'm not sure I understand. Don't you just love that, series? Siri just jumped in and had something to say, which I don't even really have that turned on, so that's spooky. Judith said, fussy cutting is very relaxing for her too. Yes. So with a weird shape like this, I'm just kind of, you notice that I'm keeping my scissors in one place. And I'm rotating the paper. This is how I fussy cut. I just kind of rotate the paper around so that you get that kind of organic look. And I'm not going as close as I would like to, but you know what? It's fine. Look at that dark spruce. That dark spruce is very similar when it dries to Cascade Green from Daniel Smith. I love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, kind of clip off that little corner there, and I've got my embellishment. Cheryl just said that sounds like a great idea for holiday tutorials. Okay, so everybody who's here, and I'm not sure how many people are here with us today. Everybody who's here, because you're here, you get to kind of like vote on. You get to kind of share with me for these holiday tutorials. Last year, I did some holiday projects that were gifty kind of things. So like one was a card, one was a tag, one was an ornament. I would like to know, would you like to see holiday tutorials that are paper crafting related, which is like the gifty ideas? Or would you like to see all cards? And for those cards, do you want to see like oversized cards or just like regular sized cards? I feel like so many of us make cards that sometimes we're looking for different ideas. The year before I did tags, and I really enjoyed doing tags. And here's why. it's such a low barrier to entry when you're learning a new technique, and it has a usefulness. You can just attach it to a gift. So maybe that's something you all would like to see. So if you have an opinion, drop it in the chat. Drop it in the chat. Paper crafting related projects like ornaments, tags, cards, or should we just do a whole like tag series? Barbara said variety, please. I like variety too. Okay, got my embellishments. Glormar, oh, gifts. So what I meant by gifts were like ornaments, like an ornament or a tag, or you can make a series of tags. You can also make a series of cards, note cards if you wanted, and give it as a gift. So it seems like, Terry just said variety, please. Judith said ornaments and tags. I think we've got a winner. I love doing those. So again, they're great for tutorials because they're small profile, they're easily achievable, and they're also useful for the holiday season. Okay, now we're going to come back to our door, and I could die cut this door out. Cheryl just said tags as well. Hey, okay, tags. Sounds good. I'm going to just follow the lines, and I'm cutting this out. Now I've got the die for this, and the die is brilliant. It fits here, fits perfectly. It's a little, I designed it to be a little bit closer to my edges, but I really, really want to go right up to the edge of this shape. And because this arched door is a pretty easygoing shape, it's not completely symmetrical either. When you get the stamp set, if this is something that you were interested in and you purchase, when you get the stamp set, you'll see that the door is not completely symmetrical. It's a little wonky. Very slight wonkiness. Very, very slight. Ooh. Oh, Catherine just shared tags with natural brushstroke trees, ceiling glazes for projects. Oh, you've given me some good ideas. Okay. I wanted to integrate gouache, so opaque, creating opaque effects is going to be part of the tutorial, but the glazes in the ceiling, yeah. There's this really cool glaze. It's a wax base. It's called Borland wax. That's perfect for watercolor projects, and I've been dying to share it and haven't done it yet. So we're going to be bringing that in. And then I can talk about some of the other glazes that you can use, or even sprays to seal your projects. Okay, we're going to bring it all home. All right, friends, there were a couple things that I did ahead of time. I did Joy. Joy came from Merriest Season of All. And that font, if anything ever reminds me of my grandmother, my grandma, Grandma McClellan, is that font, because it's super retro and it always just reminds me of those really cool Christmas, her trees, all of the fun things, all the decorations. So it reminds me of that. Now, it also reminds me of a really cool words that people put on their doors that are either like cut out of wood or cut out of different shapes. So I'm just looking at the comments. Terry, I love the wonkiness of dies. Just look at the original. They just look original than your normal shapes and cuts. Yes, exactly. Totally exactly. So I don't have a lot of symmetry going in a lot of my stamp sets, as you all know. There's always some, organic line shapes. So when I create the dies for them, I kind of make sure that we follow that line and shape. Okay, here are the two wrought iron pieces and the door lock. And I want to show you on the stamp set. You can see there's the wrought iron piece, like for the door. So like that big, heavy castle-like door would have these really interesting like hinge pieces on the side of the door. And then this door, the key, like the door knob, is a little tiny heart. So super fun. All right, we've got all of our elements here. We've got all of our embellishments. Now we're just going to kind of put together Catherine. Catherine and Cheryl are having a little chat in the chatty chat. All right. I've got some glue. This is Tombow liquid glue. I am out of my Gina K glue. I actually don't love this glue as much as I like my Gina K glue, but it does the trick. And it looks like I just got a little sploosher glue. It does the trick. I've got my my Turquoise C piece of cardstock right here. The Turquoise C is cut to an A2 size, just the normal size. I do like liquid glue for watercolor paper. It really does get it better. It adheres a lot nicer. Now we're going to put our door on. Now, a couple things that you could do with this card. You could bring the door down to like come towards the bottom of the cardstock so that you get a little bit of dimension. There's a couple things I could have done with this. I could have created a little bit of more foreground by bringing this up and kind of creating a little pathway or a porch. You can kind of create that illusion with this if you want to do it that way. I'm not going to do it that way. I'm literally just going to plop it down and line it up with the bottom. But these are just options for creating texture and dimension for your card projects. And notice I've got some foam tape. This is a pretty low profile foam tape, so it's not super thick. I'm just going to put a little bit of foam tape down. And notice that this card project is stamps are the star of the show, and I say this all the time. We've got so much in our craft stash, right? We've got pattern papers, we've got all the things, and believe me, I have them too. I've been slowly releasing them out into the wild over the last several years, releasing them to people who could make better use of them, paring down. But I really do enjoy creating a whole entire card with watercolor and your stamps and just creating the entire scene without adding a lot of extra embellishments. Okay, just going to go ahead and plop that down. You can see that we've got some of this texture in here, so you can see some of that granulation happening. If you missed that tutorial that I did about granulation, I've got a couple on this channel. You just go to the YouTube channel and you go to the search box. If you go to my channel and you go to the search box and you type in words like granulation or you know, just different keywords, it'll pop up the videos that I have those words in the title. Makes it a lot easier for you to find things, especially like I think because there are a lot of years worth of tutorials on this channel. So I'm putting this down. Now, technically, the wrought iron pieces probably would have been, I'm just moving this up just a little bit, would have been the same color, like a Payne's gray, but we're doing this retro like holiday door, and guess what? We can make it any color we want. So I wanted to make it cherry red. These pieces are tiny. You could use your tweezers, but if you've been around me long enough on this channel, you know I'm tweezer challenged with those tweezers that go in the opposite direction. My brain can't seem to understand how to do it and pick things up. And I've talked about that before. It just kind of makes me giggle. All right, we're going to create that wreath-like look right here. So first we're going to lay down our leafery pieces in that dark spruce. Just kind of bring this down and have one going one way. And this one still goes in that same direction, but I am just going to kind of give it a little twist and have it go this way. It's going to lay over top of the hinge a little bit, but that's okay. Then I'm going to take a little tiny bit of foam tape, and that one that's going to sit in the center is going to be popped up. And that's going to give me some space, just the tiniest bit of space behind it to nest the other 2 Christmas roses. I'm calling them Christmas roses, but they're really not. All of the flowers in my stamp sets are more graphical in nature than they are realistic. They have a realistic quality to them, but they're not super realistic. And the reason for that is that because you can change the color and make it any kind of flower you want. Oh, my cousin just said, you know, Granny Mac loved her retro pinks and reds. Yes, she did. Friends, my grandmother lived into, and Terry can correct me if I'm wrong, she was 92 when she passed away. And I hope that my life is as long, as beautiful, and as vibrant as hers. And that's my intention. And I've talked about her on this channel before. But she was like life of the party. She had so much energy. And I have so many memories. I think about her all the time. I have so many memories of her. And she actually, she just is pure joy, just pure joy when I think about her. And I always think about her around this time of year when I'm creating holiday cards, because I always pull color palettes from my memory from her home. So fun. Oh, Judith just shared, waiting to get the stamps is so hard. Oh, I know, friends. And Gina is running the Black Friday. She started the Black Friday sale at the night of the release, which she's never done that before. It's a massive sale. It's 10% off all of the everything in the What's New section, all the new releases, and then 25% off the entire store. I think till Monday. Yeah, till Monday, like this coming Monday, or you'll see. Go to GinaKDesigns.com. You'll see it. Huge sale. So, you know, they're going to be shipping a lot. Now, here is the joy. And I'm just going to kind of nest that. So you see the tip of the J, the dot on top of the J. It kind of will fit really nicely in that little shape right there. So graphically and from a design standpoint, I'm kind of using where those 2 shapes meet as my anchor point. Oh, Terry just says, she was driving. That is correct. My grandmother was driving pretty much right up until she passed. She was the most loving woman, and she remembers. Terry said she remembers Christmas time. She had presents for you. That's so true. Oh my God, that's such a great memory about my grandma. She had presents for you. You could bring a boyfriend to the house that she had never met. She had a present for him, or a girlfriend for her. And she never knew, you know, who was going to walk through those doors on Christmas. And there were a lot of us friends that walked through those doors. And she always had a present for everyone. It was wild. Like, I know that she would start Christmas shopping. And I always think about her when I'm Christmas shopping too. She would probably start, she did it all year long. And she just had this most loving way about her. Everyone got a gift. And when you were in her home, you always felt you belonged there. And it was just amazing. Amazing. Okay. Here's the card. We're going to add now. How are we doing on time? We're doing great. I got a couple things. Did I bring it over? Yeah, I did. I want to do a little bit of splatter, just kind of around this bottom to create kind of a snowy look. And I also was in my stash and I grabbed these Nuvo drops, dimensional things. They just add some dimension to your project. And I used them on one of the cards. Just love going back through my stash and finding things that haven't dried out and I can use them again. I used it on this card. You can see I used that leafery and created that mistletoe look. But look at those little tiny white droplets. They were just fun to use. So yes, Cheryl, her legacy will live on. There's many of us that remember her. My grandmother had a lot of children, and she had a lot of grandchildren and a lot of great-grandchildren. And we're all here. And I think about her so much all the time. Okay, so I'm just going to take these little dots and plop them in here and just do a couple little dots with these Nuvo drops just around to kind of create a little bit of dimension up here. And I'm also going to do, do I want to do the splatter? I do. I want to do the splatter. This is my P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. I'm just going to put some water down here. I'm going to grab some of this Bleed Proof White. This is a great white. This is going to show up a little bit more when we start to talk about gouache and opaque watercolors. And I was so sad. I think if many of you have heard me say this story, I think it was a couple tutorials ago. I had a jar of Bleed Proof White that I've had forever, probably 20 years. Well, being me and not cleaning up after myself, I left some water inside of it and it got moldy. And then I also dropped it on the floor and then it cracked. So I had to get a new bottle. So Catherine just said my mom did that too. How did they always have just the right gift in their stash? I don't know, man, but she did. She just always had a gift. And she also, like, of course there were so many of us, so we gave her, you know, she got gifts from all of us, and she loved our handmade gifts when we were little because I was, you know, very crafty. I made a lot of things over the years. But I had also started a collection of ornaments for her when I was, I think, in high school, of these rocking horses because she liked rocking horses. So when she passed, my Aunt Kathy called me when she was cleaning out. I know my Aunt Joyce, who's on this live right now too, was part of cleaning out the house. Found them and gave them back to me. So I have them, which is kind of cool. Lisa just shared, does anyone remember the inflatable rubber balls with the handle on the top? One year at our family reunion, my great aunt, way up in her 90s. Yes, it's the paddle ball. Lisa, oh my gosh, what a great memory. Paddle ball. So it looked like a paddle, and then there was a piece of rubber band, and then the rubber ball, and then you would go boop, 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 and you could see how many times you could make the ball stay on the paddle and go up and down. I love paddleball. It's such a great, fun thing. I think I'm going to get some of those. Put them in my kids' stockings this year. I know neither one of them are watching, so they won't know. Anyway, I'm kind of digging it. Got a little snowy look to it. Got a little bit of dimension going with it too. Loving that. So let's pull in the original inspiration for this card. It was this, and this was a complete mashup. This card right here with the Merriest Season of All. That's the Swan set that just released in September for the holiday season. Love it. But this one I think has my heart because of the retro pinks and reds and blues, and we've got that color going. I just thought I got some bleed proof white on my face. Okay, friends. Wow, we made good time. We made good time. Made good time. Okay, friends. Holy smokes. Today's tutorial was super fun. Okay. Lots of nerding out. Lots of brushstroke watercolor techniques to create that brick background, to create that texture with this chip brush. I hope you got a lot out of those techniques that I shared today. And we made a really fun holiday card. Okay. While I was transitioning, I got that idea. We talked about the upcoming holiday series of creating some tags, some ornaments, some like gifty-like things for the holidays. So I'm going to try to do 2 to 3 tutorials coming up for the holiday season. And I had the idea, I just had the idea. If you know my stamp sets, there's always like what I call a hero image or an image that's big or a vessel of some sort. Well, these images are perfect for creating ornaments or tags or things like that. So this series is going to be a mashup. I'm going to go back and look at some of the stamps from this past year and see how we can integrate them in to making some fun holiday card projects. Paddle balls, Mary's, okay, everybody's just sharing all these really fun ideas. Oh no, Lisa said these were rubber balls that you actually ride on the hippity hop. Oh my God, I remember the hippity hop. I need to take a quick drink. Love the hippity hop. And I remember buying my daughter one, both my kids, when they were little. Paddle balls, jacks, kaleidoscopes. She still collects kaleidoscopes. I love that, Mary. Oh, Terry just shared another memory about my grandmother. Remember, whatever you made her something. She always had a space for it in her house to show everyone who came in the house. She did. And if she didn't have enough shelf room, she bought a new shelf and put it up. And there was stuff everywhere. And it was all her legacy of her family, friends, and things that people brought her. It was just magical. Magical, magical, magical. Okay, everybody's just saying, looking forward to the mashup. Lisa, thanks for the reminder about the hippity hop. I think I would love to get on a hippity hop now. I would love to not fall off the hippity hop, because when you fall after 50, you got to get up right away, because otherwise you're just laying there and it will hurt. Anyway, all right, friends. I'm sending you into the weekend to craft your joy. I know it's only Thursday, but you know, it's almost here. We're also heading into Thanksgiving here in the U.S. So I want to wish you all wonderful Thanksgiving with family and friends, and all that good food, and kind of opening. I always look at Thanksgiving as the opener to the holiday season. Catherine just shared, do you mean ornaments on balls? I can do that. I've been wanting to do that for a while. Catherine, I think we might. We'll see. We might do some flat and 3D kind of things, just to kind of have a little bit of variety. Okay. Hi, Kathy. No worries. You can watch the replay. All right, friends. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you got a lot out of today's tutorial. I would love it if you would join my email list if you haven't already done so. I send out 1 email a week, sometimes 2, just to kind of let you know everything that's going on, when I'm going to go live, freebies, all those things. I also have all that information down below in the description. I also have my online watercolor classroom called craftyourjoy.com. And a couple things about that. I have a free community. I'd love to see you in the classroom. I have a free class over there. I'm also going to be offering, everybody's offering like all the Black Friday shiz, right? And it can be kind of overwhelming. But I am going to offer a hefty discount on all my classes in the classroom. And that email is going to go out tomorrow to everyone on the email list. And I won't be sharing it in social media, because it's just for everybody who's on the email list. So if you're not on the email list, get on it. It's going to be a hefty discount. I mean, like hefty, like either half off or almost half off all the classes in the classroom. And I have a lot of watercolor classes, and I think you'll love them. Okay, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. I will see you not next week, but I will be putting out an email for the next live that'll be the following week, which will be, holy smokes, the first week of December. How did it happen? It's happening. Can't believe it. All right, friends, have a great weekend. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.